This is chapter 5 on probability. This is not a new concept. I know that you have covered probability in chapter 6, so it's a bit of a review, and hopefully it'll make some sense. Now, the first little bit here that I've got in your notes is very key. So this will, like I indicated in class, this will be the first question on your test is, what is probability? Or how do you calculate probability? First of all, as a way of a definition, and the probability is the chance of an event occurring. What are the chances that something is going to occur? Okay. Now, how you calculate probability is with this. Probability equals, and it's just like a fraction, favorable outcomes over possible outcomes. And I'll tell you right now, possible outcomes is always going to be the larger number, just like in a typical fraction. And favorable outcomes is going to be less, although they could be the same. But favorable will never be more than the possible outcomes. Okay. Now, just again, by way of definition, possible outcomes, so this word right here, this phrase, possible outcomes mean all of the possible results. So everything that could possibly occur, those are your possible outcomes. Favorable outcomes are the actual results, actually what is occurring. Okay. So possible outcomes is all of the results, all that could happen, and favorable are what actually does happen. Okay, so we're going to come back to that actually quite a bit. So here's an example. If we are, and this is typically how we're going to write these questions. P5, just as it's written there, is just a short way to write the probability of rolling a 5. So actually, I'm not sure if I made that clear. We're gonna look at rolling a die right now, a 6-sided die. Okay. So again, with that in mind, the probability of rolling a 5. That's what P5 means. Okay. So if you consider a die, I'm going to kind of do this over on the side. I do have the answers right there. But if I were looking at and using this as my model, right? Favorable outcomes over possible outcomes. And we were considering rolling a die. Well, I'd be, okay, possible outcomes, that goes on the bottom. So how many possible outcomes are there on a 6-sided die? There's 6, right? There's 6 possible outcomes. And how many 5s are on that 6-sided die? There's 1. So 1 favorable, right? Just 1 5 over possible 6. Okay. Now, I'm also going to ask you to write that as a ratio, okay, which is really easy. It's 1:6. And it's going to be like that for every fraction, right? It's the numerator colon denominator. It's always the same. And then you need to calculate that into a percent. I'm not going to go over that and show that because we've done a chapter on percent. So if you need to brush up on that, then you need to maybe take a peek at a different video. Okay. So let's look at some examples, some questions here. And remember, I even got it right here. Remember, probability, how you calculate probability is favorable outcomes, top number, over possible outcomes. That's your bottom number. Okay, now, let me just change colors here. Now, you flip a penny, and it lands with a maple leaf facing up. So, probability of flipping a coin and getting a leaf. Well, how many possible outcomes are there on a coin? There's 2, right? So that's kind of messy. There's 2. And which one of those, or how many of those 2 possibles is a leaf? Only one of them, that's right. So it's 1 over 2. And again, I'm not going to do this every time, I don't think, but so that as a ratio is 1:2. And 1/2 is what as a percent? 50%. I hope you know that. All right, now another one. Now we're rolling roll a 3 on a 6-sided die. Okay, so the probability of rolling a 3. So this is just like what the example that we did. On a six-sided die, there are 6 possible outcomes, and a 3 is one of them. So we have 1 over 6. Okay. And again, we'll do our ratio, 1 to 6. And if you go through all the right steps, 1 over 6 gives you 16.6 repeating percent. Or you can round that, it doesn't matter. All right, here's another one. A bag contains 8 red markers and 2 blue markers. I think maybe I should draw this for you. I think I will. Okay, a bag. Let's draw a bag. What are our colors? Red and blue. So let me draw black first. Draw the bag. So here is the bag. Okay, and it has 8 red markers. This is so precise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And how many blue markers? Whoops. We got 2 blue markers. Right, so there's 1 and 2. It's kind of a goofy blue. Now, the question. Now we have to go back to writing this as a probability, right? So again, our fraction. Bottom number is all the possible outcomes. So how many possible outcomes are there in that bag? Right, there's 10. All of those, every one of those is a possible outcome. When you stick your hand in there and you grab something, you're going to come out with one thing, one marker, right? If you're just grabbing one, obviously. Okay, so there are 10 possible outcomes. Now it says you reach into the bag, and what is the probability that you're going to grab a red one? Well, how many of those 10 are red? 8. That's correct. So your probability is 8 over 10 as a ratio. 8, 10, and that's 80%. Okay? Piece of cake? Hope so. Okay. Next one. Now we're spinning a spinner. And we'll draw that too. Okay. Here's our spinner, just like on the game spinner, right? And it says there are 4 equal sections. So there's 4 equal sections. One's blue, one's red, one's yellow, and one is green. So it is asking right here. It's asking right here, what is the probability that you're going to land on green? So again, what's your fraction? What are the total number of possibilities when you spin that spinner? Blue, red, yellow, green. There's 4 of them, right? And what is the probability that you're going to land on green? That's 1 of those 4. So it's 1 out of 4. That is, as a ratio, and as a percent, 1/4 is 25%. Okay. Okay, next one. Here's another die question. Okay. So if I'm writing this as a fraction, I know a 6-sided die has 6 possible outcomes. Okay. Now it says, what is the probability that you're going to roll an even number? Well, on a 6-sided die, how many of those numbers are even? 2, 4, and 6, right? So 3 of the numbers out of the 6 are even. So that is your probability. As a ratio, 3 to 6, and 3 over 6. You can use your calculator. Hopefully you're not, because 3 out of 6 is 50%, right? Okay, good. All right, next one. This is another bag question. And I don't know why I use silver, gold, and bronze, but anyways. So let's draw another one. So there's a bag. And let's go 3 silver. What am I going to use for silver here? Okay, it's great. So 3 silver marbles. 1, 2, 3. We got 1 gold marble. What am I going to use for gold? I'll use that one. 1 gold, orange, whatever, and 4 bronze. What the heck color is bronze? I don't even know. What is bronze? Like brown, maybe? Okay, and how many of those do we have? 4 bronze. So bronze, that's pretty good. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now, what are our total number of possibilities? We have one, we stick our hand in there to grab something. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 possible outcomes, right? There's 8 marbles in there, so that's 8 possible outcomes. Now, this is kind of a tricky one because it says when you reach in there to pull out a marble, what is the probability that you're going to pull out a marble that isn't a bronze? So how many of those aren't bronze? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them. Oops, I'm kind of messy here. Let me change colors. 4 of them. So 4 out of 8. That's our probability. And that gives you, as a ratio, 4 to 8, or 50%. Wow, there's a lot of easy percents there. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do that last one. I don't really like that one very much. So there's a few examples for you to consider.